Daniel still family ties. I will do what seemed right to me, Katie said, staring at her in fury, and Annie nodded, remembering Whitney's warnings to her an hour before, that it was their lives and they had a right to make their own mistakes, and she had to let go. She was trying, but it was hard, and who knew if her relationship with Paul was a mistake? Maybe it wasn't. I love you, Katie, Annie said quietly in response, and with that, Katie stormed out of her room and slammed the door. All Annie wanted for her was a good life. Annie lay in her bed that night, thinking about Katie and what they had said. And she wondered if she was wrong. Maybe she had no right to say anything. Paul seemed like a good person. Maybe that was enough. Maybe coming from two different cultures didn't matter and she was wrong. What right did she have to tell Katie who to love and how to live? Maybe Katie would be happy with him. Who was she to judge? And Katie was right about some of it. Annie did live like a nun for all intents and purposes. Her life as a woman had ended at 26, and at 42 it seemed too late to get it started again. She had traded a life with a man for them, and she didn't regret the trade. She had no history of relationship to draw from, and all she knew about the Iranian culture was what she had read. It wasn't the life she would have chosen for Katie, but she had a right to choose it for herself. And as Annie lay in bed, she thought about Ted too, and wondered about the mystery woman who was distracting him. He had seemed dazed through all of Christmas and had disappeared on Christmas night. She had never seen him like that, and she was convinced that Liz was wasting her time and men like Jean Louis. Liz was having fun and enjoying her career, but guys like Jean Louis were never going to take care of her. They were too obsessed with themselves. It was hard watching the three of them grow up. Annie had a headache when she woke up the next day. Ted and Katie were both already out, and neither had left her a note about their plans. She knew that at their age, they didn't owe her explanations about where they went, and she had no right to ask. Thinking about both of them, Annie made herself a cup of tea and went out for a walk. Whitney called on her cell phone and she told her about the argument with Katie the night before. She's got to defend the relationship, no matter what she really thinks. She can't admit to you that you are right or that she may have questions about it herself. None of us want to admit that we are not sure of what we are doing. It's easier for her to attack you, and saying what you think isn't such a bad thing. Katie knows that your heart is in the right place. Now just back off and see what she does, and have a little fun yourself for a change. Are you coming to New Year's Eve? It might do you good to get out of the house for a night. I don't want to ditch them on New Year's Eve. Hello, are you kidding? We have been over this before. They are going to ditch you. They are grown up. They have got their own plans, and I want to introduce you to Fred's friend. He is a terrific guy. As Whitney said it, Annie remembered Katie's comment of the night before, that she lived like a nun. She was 42, not 95. Maybe Katie and Whitney were right. At least she had to try. She didn't want to die alone, and if she had another 40 or 50 years ahead of her, a little companionship might be nice. Okay, I will come, Annie said, as though she had just agreed to have her liver pulled out through her nose. Great, Whitney sounded thrilled. You can spend night. You can spend the night. You shouldn't drive back alone. Think of it. This may be the beginning of a hot romance and a whole new life for you. You are going to love this guy. It had been years since Annie had agreed to a blind date. Long enough to forget how disappointing they were. But at least it was something to do on New Year's Eve. And Whitney was right. The kids probably had their own plans.